Hey Bookish Baddies. I've been trying to get my thoughts right since I finished releasing 10, especially since I wanted to do a book-by-book review of this series, but I just can't bring myself to do it. So this is my spoiler-free review of the Boys of Tommen series through releasing 10, because this is going to be the only way I can even think about these books without crashing out again. So first, a couple of things to know about the series overall. These books take place in Cork, Ireland during the mid-1990s through around 2005-6 area. And they're consistent with the era. We're talking elder millennial latchkey kids with absent parents and themes that by today's standards may be triggering. We're talking unapologetic drinking and drug use, underage sex, and on-the-page descriptions of essay and grape. So be forewarned. That said, as an elder millennial myself who grew up during this era, I found much of this series to be a retelling of my own middle and high school years. And though I grew up half a world away, so many of the era-specific tenets I really resonated with. The first 4 books in the series are sort of standalone duets, with Binding 13 and Keeping 13 focusing on the relationship between Shannon Lynch and Johnny Kavanagh. Then Saving 6 and Redeeming 6 are about Shannon's older brother Joey and his girlfriend Aoife Malloy. The 5th book, Taming 7, focuses on Shannon's bestie Claire and her childhood love, Jared or Gibbsy Gibson, who is also Johnny's BFF. Finally, releasing 10 focuses on Shannon and Claire's other best friend, Lizzie Young, and her relationship with Claire's older brother, Hugh. The timeline is interesting as well, as the final book in the timeline is actually the first book in real time-wise, following by the Joey set, and then finally by the Binding 13 and Taming 7 books. So you do find yourself a little bit confused as you read through the series, but my favorite parts about Chloe Walsh's writing is her ability to plant so many Easter eggs throughout these books that provide clues as to what's going on without giving away too much. There were also a lot of instances where we realized things weren't as they appeared because we get the real story from a character's point of view after we learned about it secondhand from a different character, which changes literally everything once we know what really happened. Because of that, there are a lot of theories about what will happen next in the series, and Chloe hasn't yet officially released which book is next, aside from there being a note in the back of releasing 10, which tells readers to expect that the next book is also Lizzie and Hugh's continuation story, but we don't really know. It could change. I will recommend these books until I am hoarse and red in the face, but with one note of caution. I have never been so destroyed as I was at the end of releasing 10. This entire book is one long heartbreak, and there is no resolution at the end. So we are still waiting for a sense of peace and closure, and I am not being hyperbolic when I say my chest still physically hurts weeks later every time I think about this book, which is still multiple times a day. So if you're anything like me and you struggle with cliffhangers or an unresolved ending, I would still recommend you read the first 5 books in this series, but consider very carefully if you are really ready to be stuck in the heartbreak before you dive into releasing 10. Another trigger warning about this series, especially the last 2 books, they deal with explicit grape, including child grape. So please be aware of that before you start the series. The bookish community lost their collective minds after releasing 10 came out and tried to cancel Chloe Walsh over her perceived lack of trigger warnings in the books. I disagree. I think that the warnings were there, but I think some people are just not prepared to engage with such devastating and heavy subject matter such as this, and that's exactly why trigger warnings exist, right? So many of us, particularly women, have dealt with SA in our lives, and being able to feel seen and understood is so critical. Lizzie Young will always own a piece of my heart for the rest of my life, and I sincerely hope she finds her peace. Let me know if you've read The Boys of Tommen and what you think about it.